Nanoleaf Skylight is a modular, smart ceiling light solution that blends functional, everyday lighting in with 16 million plus RGB colors and effects. I've been using them and testing them for a little while so we could talk about it here. They're super cool, but quite expensive, and there are some things that could probably be improved upon. We'll discuss all that and more today to determine if this new product from Nanoleaf may be a good addition to your smart home. Let's go. Yo, what's up guys? My name is Shane and this channel is all about building an easy Apple home, smart home with new videos and live streams published every week. So the Nanoleaf Skylight is finally here. I first saw this displayed at CES of 2023. I thought it looked awesome and I was anxiously waiting all year to hear more about it. And I use a lot of the Nanoleaf products here in my home, especially in this studio, so I thought the Skylight would be a great addition to my setup. We shall see, and we will also try to determine if this will be a good addition to your smart home. Now, full disclosure, Nanoleaf did send me the Skylight starter kit and extensions for free so that I could test it out and share it with you here on the channel, but this video is not sponsored in any way. You're gonna get my honest thoughts and feedback as always right here. I'm gonna tell you everything you need to know, the good and the bad. So the way this works is you'll hardwire one square, that's the main control panel, you'll hardwire that one and this will replace your existing ceiling light. And then you can connect up to 100 additional squares to create, unique designs across your entire ceiling if you want. Each panel has 1400 lumens of brightness with RGB CW color channels. That means it does have dedicated white LEDs, which is definitely something you would want for a ceiling light. It supports Apple Home, Alexa, Google Home, SmartThings, IFTTT, and Razer Chroma, and it will connect to your smart home via your 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi network. Now there's no Matter support on this, but I don't really know if that matters since it does support, all of the major smart home ecosystems anyways. So I don't know, just something to note there. Now these are rated for indoors only with a lifetime expectancy of 25,000 hours. And again, these are intended to replace an existing ceiling light fixture. In the main box, you'll get your quick start guide, including a QR code for both Android or Apple users, installation hardware, and your light panels. This here is the 3-pack starter kit, so I've got 3 light panels in here. The main panel will have the mounting bracket on it. You need to open it up with a flathead screwdriver. I'll remove the L-shaped cover by removing the 4 screws. Here you can see the terminal blocks for the wiring. Each panel has 2 openings on each side where you can feed the wire from another panel to. Our main wiring from the ceiling and the additional panels will plug into these terminals like so. Next, I'll remove the wing nuts to get the mounting bracket off. We can see here where to feed the wires from the ceiling. I've already moved the previous light fixture. You should be left with a hot wire, which is usually a black or red wire, and a neutral wire, which is the white one. You may also have a bare ground wire. Before messing with any of this, you will want to cut the power at the breaker for the entire room that you're messing with. I'll use the provided screws to attach the bracket. I'll feed the wires through the main control panel and attach them to the main controller power wires with the included wire nuts. Now, quick note here, the instruction manual has you connect these wires before putting up the control panel. So basically that connection with the wire nuts and everything would be in the ceiling area. I just didn't have a lot of space up there, so I did it this way, but either way should be fine. There is a screw hole in each corner of each panel for you to secure to the ceiling with the included screws. They include drywall anchors and plaster anchors for you to use. Then it's just a matter of feeding the wires and connecting all your panels. Each panel has the same little L-shaped terminal block, so I would just hold up my next panel, mark the location of the 4 holes, put in my drywall anchors, then screw the panel to the ceiling. Now this did make me a little bit nervous because it is a very permanent installation with all these screws and whatnot, especially, you know, on a white ceiling. I really didn't want to mess this up, so I was a little nervous, but I did push forward. I did turn the power back on to make sure I had everything wired up correctly and that I was getting power to the device. Then I just went on to install each panel, wiring each one to the previous. So the wiring you've seen already is just for the power. Those are the power wires. All the panels also need to be connected to each other using these little communication wires. So this is what sends the communication so that they can all change effects and colors and know which ones to do across the whole installation. Once that's all done, reinstall the L-shaped covers on each panel. Then you can snap on the diffuser covers for each panel. To set it up in the Apple Home app, you can just add a new device and scan the QR code like a typical Homekit accessory. I would recommend setting it up in the Nanoleaf app first though. You'll be able to alter the orientation of your lights and determine the power on settings here in the Nanoleaf app, which could be important, especially for such a bright light. If you ever lose power or something like that in the middle of the night, might not want it to come on full blast. Using the Nanoleaf app for setup is also good because you can get any firmware updates that may have been released. In the Nanoleaf app, you can change the color, of course, under the basic tab. Tap the temperature icon to get those really great warm and cool white lights. This is great for functional lighting. Then in the scene tab, you can choose from different effects. You can save some as favorites that will be displayed in your favorites tab. One of the really cool features in the Nanoleaf app is the magic scene option. This uses AI to transform any text into a color scene for any of your Nanoleaf lights. So pretty fun to play around with. You can also create your own scenes manually if you like. I don't really do this myself because there are already so many great effects and scenes out there that you can just pick from and download. Just go over to the Discover tab at the bottom and you can search and look through tons of user created scenes. You can test them on your different Nanoleaf devices before deciding to downloading them to your saved scenes. The scenes and effects is really where Nanoleaf shines, I think. You can even save and export your scenes to use in HomeKit or the Apple Home app, which is fantastic. A little pro tip here for all my Apple Home users, you can use the controller for HomeKit app to see the current animation effect of your Nanoleaf lights. That's actually how I create, you know, these cohesive scenes here with all of my Nanoleaf lights and other HomeKit lights here in my studio. In the Apple Home app, the lights are displayed just like any other HomeKit colored light. You can change the color, the brightness, and the color temperature. Unfortunately, there is no adaptive lighting support here in HomeKit. I was really kind of bummed out about that. Would have been nice to see, but we don't have that as an option. So let's talk pros and cons, the good and the bad as promised. Installation was really not difficult necessarily, but it is a little bit tedious, I guess you could say. I would just recommend taking your time, don't rush it, and read all the directions for sure. I think they could improve installation a little bit. One of the things that bothers me is that my panels didn't really line up perfectly when I went all the way around in that little square design that I had. Maybe that's on me, I don't know, maybe I could have done a little bit better planning. But you know, all that's just kind of tough to do, you know, considering you're doing all this up on the ceiling. It's just not super easy, I guess, to plan out and stuff. I think this could maybe be fixed if they included some sort of like mounting system that would allow for minor adjustments of each panel once your screws are in place. You know, you ever see something like that where you can have your screws kind of loosely in place, but still slide the device or artwork or whatever it is from one side to another before tightening them all the way down? I think something like that would have really helped to line them up a little bit better. Or maybe even have some templates or something like that that you can just stick on the ceiling to get the perfect alignment for the entire layout before mounting and screwing in each panel. And this is really only an issue for me because I created this like square design out of the panels that I had where they need to meet back up at the end. If I did just like a straight line or something that's not so symmetrical, this really wouldn't have been an issue at all. So just something to note there if you are doing like a square or something like that where they'll need to, you know, meet back up perfectly with all the screws and stuff. It's just not something you really want to mess up. I have had the Skylight go unresponsive in the Nanoleaf app and in Apple Home a couple of times since installing them, so that's really not good. Hopefully that's just a fluke, or maybe is something that can be improved with firmware updates. All I know is this product is way too expensive to be going unresponsive a lot, so I hope that does not become a normal long-term thing. When it did happen a couple of times, I just cut the power to them and then cut the power back on, and it fixed them, and they were working back in Homekit or in the Nanoleaf app. If you have a light switch controlling the fixture, you can just flip the switch off and then back on, which will, cut the power on and off. Also, there is a reset button underneath the cover on the main controller panel that I think would also reset the Wi-Fi connection if you need to go about it that way. That does kind of lead me to something else you should definitely think about. Most ceiling lights are controlled by a light switch. So if you have your regular light switch, still accessible on the wall, and you or anyone else in your family or anyone else in your house turns that switch off, it will kill the connection to the Nanoleaf Skylight, and they will show up as, yes, you guessed it, unresponsive in the Nanoleaf app or in your smart home ecosystem. There are a couple of options here to address this. You can try to cover the light switch somehow to make sure no one turns it on or off. That's one thing you can do. You can remove the switch entirely and wire it to be always hot so that the panels are always receiving power, and you just control them through the apps. Or you may be able to find a smart light switch that allows you to disable the physical control of the switch and use it in something like a smart bulb mode. So in other words, just think about the light switch scenario for your setup and what you might do in your house to address this. All in all, the lights look incredible. I think they are made really well. I love the very bright, cool, and warm whites that I get in the studio here when I'm working throughout the day. Also great for me when I'm shooting video footage here. Then when I want to relax and chill, the colors and effects completely change the whole mood of the room. And the more panels you have in your setup, the more those colors will transform your space. I really wish they supported adaptive lighting in Homekit though. I think that was a bit of a missed opportunity, especially for this type of device. I mean, it is called Skylight. It'd be incredible if the whites could gradually change from cool to warm and stuff throughout the day, with that adaptive lighting Homekit feature. But unfortunately, we don't have it here. The colors are not as bright as the whites, but still look really good. If you're looking hard enough, you can see a little darker and brighter spots in the panels. Some of the colors, it's probably a little more noticeable than others. I'm not sure how visible that is on camera, but that could be something that some of you may have an issue with, is those little darker and brighter spots. Of course, the effects are just incredible, just like the other Nanoleaf products, like the lines and shapes that I have here all around in my studio. The fact that you can export Nanoleaf scenes into Homekit is a huge plus. I really don't like the Nanoleaf app very much, never really have, to be honest. One time the app for some reason moved all of my Nanoleaf devices out of their assigned rooms and put them all in the default room, in Homekit, which is kind of annoying. I don't know why that happened. But for the most part, once you have your scenes and effects and everything all set up, you really don't need to use the Nanoleaf app too much, honestly, unless you want to maybe use the cool little AI magic scene feature, which is pretty neat. I'm obviously a fan of all the cool Nanoleaf lighting, if you couldn't tell by all the other Nanoleaf products that I have here in the studio. But they're not perfect, as you've seen. They're also not cheap. You can purchase the Skylight Starter Kit, or Smarter Kit as Nanoleaf likes to call them, in a 3-pack, 4-pack, a 6-pack, 9-pack, or a 12-pack, starting at $249.99 for the 3-pack and going up from there. You can also purchase the expansion packs that are just a single extra panel for $69.99 US. Most of the kits and expansion packs have sold out, it seems. You can pre-order them right now with a ship date of early April 2024 at the time of this recording. Let me know in the comments below if you think the price is worth the product here. It's certainly a unique product, unlike anything else that I've used, which is always fun and exciting. If you have any questions that I have not answered today, feel free to drop those down below in the comment section as well. If you want to see a whole tour of the rest of my studio and all of the smart home accessories I'm using in here, lots of other Nanoleaf products, you can check out this video right here. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already for more content just like this, and I'll see you in the next one.